The other night in my TESOL grammar class, we were talking about collocations, and of course my students weren't really familiar with that term. So I used a classic example that people have been using a wrong form of a collocation. They use based off of, which is one of my major pet peeves. And I said that it was based on, right? And then we pointed to the page in Keys to Teaching Grammar where Folse talks about collocations. And I told them that they needed to study these, but a lot of them have to be learned, memorized. They know them, but that they need to know that these go together and that based off of is not a collocation in English. And then I began to tell them that it's very important for them as English teachers to know the language, to produce error-free handouts and things to give their students, because that they're the model. And without that good model, their students will not have a good model of English.
I would agree that we hear people say, well, this is not what I hear when I'm outside in the real world. And the reason we're in the English class is that for that exact reason, there are people who say this, maybe a lot of people who say these things incorrectly, who say based off of. And I think all of us who are native speakers, you've certainly heard people say things like that. One of my pet peeves is the overuse of myself, where everything is something like, here's a gift from John and myself. Well, you would never say this is a gift from myself, but people say, I hear this all the time. Just the fact that you hear it outside in the real world doesn't mean it's correct. It means that you have good hearing is what it means, that you actually hear these things. The example I always get is when people would say, when I'm teaching undergrads, these are native speakers, and they'll say, well, none of my friends talk like that. And the example I give, and I'm sorry to offend anyone who this might offend, but my example is if you're happy with that group of people that you hang out with right now, and if that's all your goal in life is you're a ditch digger and you just want to keep digging those ditches, that's all you ever want to do, then by gosh, yeah, you keep talking like that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not training ditch diggers. Right. I'm training, I hope, professional English teachers, right. And I'm sure you run into the same thing, right. Where you're the English teacher. You're supposed to know, and as you said, you mentioned the word model. So a lot of the teachers now who are teaching in a K-12 setting in particular, you think, well, I'm the math teacher, I'm the science teacher. Well, by default, you're the example. You're the English input for that English language learner all day.
Yes, you're supposed to be the educated model.
And you need to be.
Right.
And I know this also offends some people, but we're English teachers. We get paid to know the difference between what is considered standard and what is considered right. What people on the street say.
Right. Well, the other thing I point out to my students too is the fact that I don't care if you're an English teacher or you're a finance major. When you go for a job, like it or not, you're going to be judged on first the way you look, mm-hmm. and second the way you talk. And the other thing, and I always tell them this, when I'm on a search committee for a job, mm-hmm. if I have your CV or resume and there's an error on it and you're applying to be an English teacher, you are out of the running. And maybe that's harsh.
Not hard. You're applying. I don't know who you are. I have 150 applications here. My yes. sole criteria, when I start out, the first thing I see is I see your cover letter. I assume your resume you sent to some company or somebody, you had somebody at least proof it. But your cover letter, where you write that little paragraph, if it's an email with an attachment, this is my one chance to hear your English a little bit.
Right.
My favorite one with job applications is when I was overseas, in particular in Japan, people would write letters with their email and say, please accept my resume, please accept, but it was spelled EXCEPT. So you know what I did? I accepted it.
That's right.
It was out.
Yes.
As you said, you walk into a room, you're a brand new teacher, people size you up. Like,
yes, they do.
What do you look like? Do you look smart? Do you look clean? Do you look organized?
Exactly.
And then the next thing you do, you open your mouth, and if you have a heavy accent, pronunciation-wise, or if you say something like, I seen it, or it don't matter,
or between...
I'd yank my child out
yes.
of that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
You've proven that you really don't know what you're supposed to be teaching.
Exactly. And I tell them time and again, this is your chance to be different. Like you said yesterday in one of the sessions, this is your chance to be different. Everybody does X, Y, and Z. You need to do more to stand out. And one of those things is to use English that fits.
Yeah, proper English in something as, if you're writing a simple paragraph in an email that's saying, here's my CV, if you're going to make a mistake in those 73 words, then I can't even imagine what you'll do once we make the
Right.
mistake of hiring you.
Right.
So we're not going to make that mistake, are
Right.
we?
No, we are not.